I waited outside her college in the rain with flowers, but when she saw me she laughed with her friends and pretended not to know me. And I'm 28 and I destroyed the best thing that ever happened to me. This isn't a story asking for sympathy. This is a warning. Sarah was 22 when we started dating 3 years ago. I was 25 working in a marketing firm thinking I had figured out. She was finishing her psychology degree, all bright eyes and big dreams about helping people. God, she was beautiful. Not just physically, though she took my breath away every time she smiled. She was beautiful in the way she cared about everyone, how she'd stop to pet every dog on the street, how she'd cry during those animal rescue commercials. I loved her. I really did. But apparently love isn't enough when selfish, and it started small. That's how these things always start, right? LinkedIn messages from my college friend Mike about how single was amazing. Comments about how I was settling down too young. Bar nights where guys would point out women and ask why I wasn't playing the field anymore. We're only 26. Man, Mike would say. Sarah's great, but how to know she's T1 if haven't explored options? I should have told him to shut. I should have remembered how Sarah would text me good morning every single day, how she'd bring me soup when I was sick, how she'd listen to my work problems like they actually mattered. Instead I started wondering. The doubt crept in slowly. Sarah was young, still in school, still figuring herself out. I was established, had my own place, good job. Maybe I could do better. Maybe she was just my first relationship and I was being naive. Then Jessica started our office. Jessica was 26, blonde, confident in that corporate way that Sarah wasn't. She'd wear these sharp business outfits and always knew exactly what to say in meetings. She was everything Sarah wasn't: polished, career-focused, no silly emotional moments over commercials. It started with coffee breaks, just work stuff I told. Then lunch meetings that weren't really about work. Then staying late at the office collaborating on projects. While Sarah was studying for finals. Jessica knew I had a girlfriend. I made sure to mention Sarah early on, like that would somehow protect me from. But Jessica would just smile and say things like, well, we're not married, or, we're just friends, right? The first time Jessica met me was December 15th. I remember the date because Sarah had texted me that morning about Christmas plans with my parents. I was supposed to meet Sarah for dinner that night, but Jessica suggested we grab drinks to celebrate finishing the Morrison account. I should have said no. I should have gone home to my girlfriend who was probably picking out the perfect gift for my mom, who she'd only met twice but already adored. Instead, I went to that dimly lit bar downtown where Jessica ordered expensive and kept touching my arm when she laughed. No, David, she said, leaning closer, you're really special. Sarah's lucky, but I don't think she appreciates what she has. That should have been a red flag the size of Texas. Instead, it felt like validation. When she me, I didn't pull away, I her back. For maybe 10 seconds, I forgot about Sarah completely. Then reality crashed down. I pulled back, mumbling something about having to go. I drove home in a panic, Sarah's name lighting my phone with worried texts. Hey, are okay, seem stressed today, can't wait to see tonight. I texted back that I was sick and going straight to bed. The first lie. It would not be the last. Sarah showed at my apartment an hour later with chicken soup she'd made from scratch and those little crackers I liked. She had her key, so she just came in, found me sitting on my couch staring at the wall. Oh honey, look awful, she said, rushing over to feel my forehead. Good thing I brought supplies. Let me take care of. She spent the next 2 hours making sure I was comfortable, fluffing pillows, adjusting the TV volume, sitting with me even though she had a final exam the next day. I watched her take care of me while Jessica's lipstick was probably still on my lips, and I felt like the worst person alive. I love, she whispered as she was leaving, kissing my forehead gently. Feel better, okay? Tomorrow we'll go Christmas shopping for parents. I love to, I said back, and I meant it. That's the part that makes this so much worse. But I didn't stop seeing Jessica. Over the next month, I became someone I didn't recognize. I was living 2 lives. With Sarah I was still her devoted boyfriend, still making plans for the future, still meeting her friends and pretending everything was perfect. With Jessica, I was this other version of sophisticated, unattached, free. The lies multiplied like cancer. Working late became my default excuse. Client dinners that didn't exist. Weekend conferences that were really just hotel rooms with Jessica. I deleted texts, used private browsing, became an expert in deception. Sarah never suspected a thing. That trusting nature that had made me fall in love with her in the first place meant she believed every lie I told. When I said I was stressed about work, she'd massage my shoulders and tell me everything would be okay. When I said I needed space to focus on a big project, she'd give me that space without question. I'm so proud of how hard you're working, she'd say. I know it's tough now, but we'll get through it. To a Jessica, meanwhile, was pushing for more. She wanted me to break with Sarah, wanted us to be official. She's holding back David. We're meant for bigger things than playing house with some college student. I kept making excuses, saying I needed time, that Sarah deserved better than being dumped right before graduation. The truth was I was addicted to having both. Sarah's unconditional love and support at home, Jessica's excitement and adventure on the side. I thought I could keep both forever. I thought I was smart enough to maintain the balance. I was wrong. It all came crashing down on March 8th, a month before Sarah's graduation. She'd been planning this surprise for weeks, tickets to see my favorite band, the same one we'd bonded over on our first date. She wanted to surprise me at work, so she'd coordinated with my assistant to make sure I'd be free. She walked into my office at 2 p.m. with the biggest smile I'd ever seen, holding an envelope with the tickets. I was on the phone with Jessica, planning our weekend getaway to the coast. Sarah couldn't hear the other end of the conversation, but she heard me say, I can't wait to have all two, in the voice I'd never used with anyone but her. The smile died on her face. I watched her connect the dots in real time. The late nights, the distance, the way I'd been different lately. Her hand started shaking as she held those concert tickets. I hung the phone, tried to explain, but what was there to say? She'd heard enough. Who is she? Sarah asked, so quietly I almost didn't hear her. I could have lied. I could have made something. Instead I told her the truth, all of it, watching her heart break with every word. She didn't scream. She didn't throw anything. She just stood there, tears streaming down her face, holding those concert tickets that represented everything I'd thrown away. I thought love me, she whispered. I do love, I said, and I meant it, but the words sounded hollow even to me. No, she said, finally looking at me with eyes I never seen before. Cold, empty. Don't betray people love, don't lie to them every day, don't make them feel crazy for trusting. She left the tickets on my desk and walked out. I never saw her again. That was 6 months ago. Tomorrow she graduates. I know because I've been following her social media like some kind of, watching her rebuild her without me in it. She looks happy in her photos, surrounded by friends who probably know exactly what I did to her. I bought flowers today. Roses her favorites. I'm gonna wait outside the graduation ceremony and try to talk to her. I know it's desperate. I know it's probably at this point. But I need her to know I'm sorry. I need her to know that losing her was the biggest mistake of mine. Jessica and I lasted exactly 3 weeks after Sarah found out. Turns out, once I was actually available I wasn't that interesting anymore. She's dating someone else now. Some guy from her yoga class who really understands her. Sarah changed her number, blocked me on everything. Moved to a new apartment where I don't know the address. She erased me from her completely like our 3 years together never happened. But I know where she'll be tomorrow at 2 p.m. And I'll be there too with flowers and apologies that will probably fall on deaf ears. I keep telling maybe she'll listen. Maybe she'll see how much I've changed, how sorry I am, maybe we can start over. Deep down I know better. Don't get to destroy someone's trust and expect them to hand the pieces so can try again. But I have to try. Even if it makes me look pathetic. Even if her friends laugh at me. Even if she calls security. I have to try. It's been 3 days since graduation. 3 days since I learned what rock bottom actually feels like. I thought losing Sarah was the worst thing that could happen to me. I was wrong. I got to the college at noon 2 hours early. The ceremony was at 2 p.m. But I wanted to make sure I didn't miss her. I found a spot near the main entrance where all the graduates would exit, clutching those roses like they were a lifeline. It had started drizzling around 1 p.m. By 1:30 it was full on rain. I didn't care. I stood there getting soaked, rehearsing what I'd say to her. Sarah, please just give me 5 minutes. I know but I made a mistake. The biggest mistake of my other families started gathering under umbrellas, parents with cameras and siblings with congratulations signs. I watched them and realized I should have been there with Sarah's parents. I should have been the one taking pictures, holding flowers for the woman I loved as she walked across that stage. Instead I was a stranger lurking in the rain. The graduates started coming out around 2:45. I scanned every face, my heart hammering every time I saw blonde hair or thought I recognized her walk. Then I heard it, that laugh. Sarah's laugh, the one that used to make everything okay. She came around the corner with 3 other girls, all of them in caps and gowns, all glowing with that post-graduation euphoria. She looked radiant. Her hair was longer now, styled differently. She seemed taller, somehow more confident. 6 months had changed her. For a moment I just watched her. She was animated, talking with her hands the way she did when she got excited, probably telling some story about the ceremony. She looked free. Lighter than I'd seen her in months before we broke. That should have been my cue to leave. To let her have this moment without me. Instead I stepped forward. Sarah. She turned toward my voice, and I saw the exact moment she spotted me. Her smile vanished. Her whole body went rigid. One of her friends followed her gaze and saw me standing there, soaking wet, holding wilted roses like some kind of romantic movie reject. Is that him? I heard one of the girls whisper. The cheater. Sarah's face went through about 5 different emotions in 2 seconds. Shock, anger, disappointment, and finally something that looked almost like pity. What are you doing here, David? She called out, not moving any closer. I held the flowers, water dripping from the petals. I came to congratulate, and to apologize. I know don't want to see me, but I had to try. Her friends had formed a protective semicircle around her now. I recognized one of them, Melissa, who had never liked me even when Sarah and I were happy. She was glaring at me like I was something she'd scrapped off her shoe. Sarah, we can call security. Melissa said, loud enough for me to hear. No, it's okay. Sarah said, but her voice was different, colder. Professional almost. Like she was talking to a difficult client instead of someone she'd once planned to marry. David, need to leave. Please, just 5 minutes. I said, taking a step closer. Her friends immediately closed ranks, and I realized how this must look. A man approaching a group of young women refusing to take no for an answer. I know I don't deserve it, but, alright, Sarah interrupted. Don't deserve it. Don't deserve 5 minutes, or 5 seconds, or even this conversation. The rain was coming down harder now. Other families were hurrying toward their cars. But we were stuck in this awful moment, me dripping and desperate, her surrounded by friends who knew exactly what I'd done to her. I made a mistake. I said, raising my voice over the rain. The biggest mistake of my. I love Sarah. I never stopped loving. And then she laughed. Not the warm laugh I remembered. This was bitter sharp. Her friends joined in, and suddenly I was the punchline to some joke I didn't understand. Love. Sarah said, shaking her head. David, don't know what love is. Love doesn't lie for months. Love doesn't sneak around. Love doesn't make someone feel crazy for trusting them. I know I didn't just me, she said, her voice rising now. Destroyed me. Do you know what the last 6 months have been like? Do you know how many nights I spent wondering what was wrong with me, why I wasn't enough, why I wasn't worth being faithful to? Each word hit me like a physical. I'd known I'd hurt, but hearing it laid out like this, seeing the pain in her eyes even now. 6 months later, we're enough, I said desperately. We're always me. I was selfish and stop, she said, holding her hand. Just stop, I'm not doing this, not today. Not ever. Melissa stepped forward. She said, leave, man, take the hint. I'm not talking to. I snapped, and immediately regretted it. Now I looked like exactly what I was, a guy who couldn't handle rejection, getting aggressive with women who were protecting their friend. Actually, we're not talking to any of us, another friend said. Sarah, let's go. He's not worth ruining day. Sarah nodded, but she looked at me one more time, and in that look I saw something that made my freeze. Nothing, no anger. No love. Nothing at all. I was a stranger to her now. Less than a stranger. Strangers don't inspire that level of complete indifference. Congratulations on graduating, I called out as they started to walk away. I'm proud of. She didn't even turn around. I stood there in the rain for another 20 minutes, holding those flowers, watching other families celebrate while I realized the depth of what I'd lost. Not just Sarah, but the future we'd planned, that we were supposed to build, the person I used to be when I was with her. The drive home was a blur. I kept replaying that laugh, that look of absolute nothing in her eyes. I'd been clinging to this fantasy that she still cared, even if she was angry. That maybe, deep down she still loved me and just needed time to forgive. But can't forgive someone don't care about anymore. And can't someone who's already moved on completely. The flowers in a dumpster behind a gas station. The next day, I found out through mutual friends that Sarah had been accepted to graduate school across the country. Full scholarship, she was leaving in 3 months and never coming back. The day after that I saw the social media posts. Sarah at her graduation party, surrounded by friends and family, glowing with happiness and excitement about her future. There were pictures of her with some guy I didn't recognize, tall, dark hair, genuine smile. His arm was around her waist in that casual, comfortable way that spoke of something real. In every single picture, she looked happier than she'd ever looked with me. That's when it hit me. I hadn't just lost the woman I loved. I'd lost her during the best years of her, and she'd found something better. The worst part, she deserved better. She deserved someone who wouldn't trade her trust for a few months of excitement. Someone who wouldn't make her question her worth. Someone who would show to her graduation as her proud boyfriend, not as a desperate stranger in the rain. I started drinking more. Stopped going to work regularly. My performance reviews went from excellent to concerning to, we need to talk. The apartment felt like a tomb, full of memories of the person I used to be when Sarah loved me. My friends tried to help at first. Mike, the one who'd encouraged me to explore my options, kept saying I'd dodged a bullet. She was too young anyway, he'd say, find someone better. But there was no one better. And even if there was, why would they want me? What did I have to offer? I was a guy who'd thrown away the best relationship of his for a few months of cheap thrills with someone who dumped me the second things got complicated. I was a cautionary tale now. The guy who had everything and destroyed it for nothing. 3 months later, Sarah moved across the country. I know because I drove by her old apartment and saw the moving trucks. I sat in my car across the street, watching her get packed and shipped away, and realized this was really it. She was gone. Really, truly gone. And I was still here, still thinking about her every day, still wishing I could go back and make different choices. But time only moves in one direction, and some mistakes don't get second chances. It's been 2 years since graduation day. 2 years since I stood in the rain holding wilted roses like some kind of, I'm writing this final chapter because I need to understand where betrayal really leads. It doesn't end with the breakup. It doesn't end with the humiliation. It follows everywhere, like a shadow that grows longer instead of fading. I lost my job 4 months after Sarah moved away. They called it performance issues. But really it was the drinking, the missed meetings, the complete inability to focus on anything that wasn't the gaping hole where my used to be. My boss Janet tried to help at first. David, I don't know what's going on in personal, but need to get it together, she said during our final review. Used to be one of our best account managers. Now barely showing. I wanted to tell her that I used to be a lot of things. I used to be someone's boyfriend. Someone's future husband. Someone who had plans and dreams and reasons to get in the morning. Instead I just nodded and cleaned out my desk. The apartment went next. Turns out when unemployed and spending every night at bars trying to forget own name, rent becomes optional. I moved back in with my parents at 29 years old, sleeping in my childhood bedroom with posters Sarah used to laugh about. We're worried about honey, my mom said, bringing me coffee one morning after I'd stumbled home at 3 a.m. This isn't like, but it was like me now. This was who I'd become. The cheater. The leer. The man who away the best thing in his and then spent 2 years punishing everyone around him for his own choices. My parents tried to be supportive, but I could see the disappointment in their eyes. They'd loved Sarah. Mom had already started hinting about grandchildren, about Sunday dinners with my future wife. They'd bought her Christmas presents that year, welcomed her into the family like she already belonged. Now they had to watch their son fall apart because he'd betrayed the woman they'd hoped would be their daughter-in-law. What happened with Sarah? Dad asked one day while we were watching TV. Never really told us. I could have lied. I'd become an expert at it. Instead I told him the truth. All of it. Watched his face change as he realized his son wasn't the man he'd raised him to be. He didn't yell. Didn't lecture. Just shook his head and said, I'm disappointed, David. Not surprised made a mistake, but disappointed made that mistake. That worse than any screaming match would have. The worst part was the updates. Through mutual friends, through social media I knew I should stop checking. I kept getting glimpses of Sarah's new. She'd started graduate school, was excelling in her program. The guy from graduation day, Marcus, turned out to be a PhD student in her program. They looked happy together in the photos that friends occasionally shared. Really happy. The kind of happy I'd convinced Sarah and I had been, but looking back I wasn't sure we ever were. Not really. I'd been too busy looking over the fence to appreciate the garden I was already in. Sarah graduated with honors. Got accepted for a prestigious internship. Started publishing research papers. She was becoming everything she'd dreamed of being, building the she'd always wanted. I was living in my childhood bedroom, working part-time at a retail store, and spending my evenings scrolling through social media like a digital ghost haunting his own past. The drinking got worse, not just evenings anymore but afternoons. Then mornings I told I was just taking the edge off, just making it through another day. But my parents noticed. My few remaining friends noticed. Even my manager at the store noticed. Smell like, she said one Thursday morning. Again, I can't have working the floor like this. I got fired from a minimum wage retail job. At 30 years old, cause I couldn't stop drinking long enough to fold t-shirts and ring customers. That night, I sat in my car in the parking lot of the bar I'd been planning to visit and finally admitted the truth to I wasn't grieving Sarah anymore. I was grieving who I used to be. The version of that existed when she loved me. See, Sarah hadn't just been my girlfriend. She'd been my mirror, reflecting back the best parts of. When she looked at me I saw someone worth loving. Someone reliable, trustworthy, ambitious. Someone who brought soup when she was sick and remembered her favorite songs and made her laugh until she snorted. Without her, I couldn't see those parts of anymore. Maybe they'd never really existed. Maybe I'd just been performing them, playing the role of a good boyfriend while secretly believing I deserved more, better, different. Now I was different, alright. I was the cautionary tale mothers would tell their daughters. The reason why trust, once broken, should never be given again. I started going to meetings. Not because I thought I could get Sarah back, even I wasn't that delusional anymore. But because I was tired of being the villain in my own story, tired of waking disappointed that I'd woken at all. It helped, slowly. I got sober, stayed sober, found a better job, moved into my own place again. Started therapy where I spent an hour every week explaining to a patient woman named Dr. Rivera why I'd destroyed the best relationship of my. What do you think we're really looking for when started the affair? She asked during one session. I'd been going to her for 6 months by then, had given all the surface answers. Excitement, validation, the thrill of something new. I said slowly, I was looking for a version of that was more interesting than the guy Sarah loved. And did find him. I laughed, but there was no humor in it. Yeah, I found him. Turns out he's a selfish, lying, destructive person who ruins everything he touches. She nodded, writing something in her notebook. What would say to Sarah now if could? I'd thought about this question for 2 years. Had rehearsed speeches, apologies, explanations. But sitting in that office I finally knew the real answer. I'd tell her I said, for loving me when I didn't deserve it, for trusting me when I wasn't trustworthy, for building a future with me in her mind even when I was already tearing it down. And I'd tell her I'm sorry losing her to realize what I'd had. Do still love her. I'll always love who she was, I said. But the woman she is now, the one who's building an amazing without me, I love her enough to stay away from it. That was a year ago. I'm 31 now, sober for 14 months, living alone in a studio apartment across town from where Sarah and I used to dream about buying a house. I have a decent job, a few friends who don't know about my past, a therapist who's helping me figure out how to be a person worth knowing. But I'm still alone. Not just single, alone in the way that comes from knowing or capable of destroying the people who love most. I tried dating once, about 6 months ago. Her name was Amy, she was kind and funny and everything I thought I wanted. But every time she trusted me with something small, her apartment key, plans for the weekend, the password to her Netflix account, I felt the weight of what that trust meant. What I'd done with Sarah's trust. What I was capable of doing again. I broke it off after 3 dates. Told Amy she deserved better than someone who was still figuring out how to be decent. She was confused. But she didn't know she'd dodged a bullet. Last month I found out Sarah got engaged. Marcus proposed during a conference in Chicago, somewhere beautiful and meaningful to their shared career. The ring was perfect, simple and elegant like she always said she wanted. She looked radiant in the photos, glowing with the kind of happiness that comes from being loved by someone who would never betray that gift. I felt happy for her. Really, genuinely happy. And that's how I knew I was finally getting better. When can watch the person most build a beautiful without and feel grateful they found what they deserved. Maybe becoming someone worth knowing again. But here's what nobody tells about rock bottom. Even when climb out, remember every detail of the fall. Remember exactly which choices led to which consequences. Remember the taste of every lie, the weight of every betrayal, the sound of trust breaking in real time. I remember standing in that rain, holding those flowers, believing I could fix something I'd spent months systematically destroying. I remember thinking I was the victim in my own story, that Sarah was being unreasonable, that love should come with unlimited chances to the people who give it. I was wrong about all of it. These days I volunteer at a community center, helping kids with their homework. Simple, honest work that doesn't require anyone to trust me with their heart. The kids don't know about my past, don't know I'm the kind of person who throws away gold to dig through garbage. Sometimes I catch wondering what Sarah and I would be doing if I hadn't destroyed everything. Maybe we'd be married by now, talking about kids, building that we used to plan during late night conversations in her dorm room. Maybe she'd be Dr. Sarah Rodriguez by now instead of the future Dr. Sarah Campbell she's gonna become. But those thoughts don't help anyone. Sarah got the she deserved, just with someone worthy of building it with her. I got the I earned, one where I know exactly what I'm capable of losing, and exactly what that loss costs. If we're reading this understanding where I stood 3 years ago, if we're thinking about betraying someone who trusts, someone who loves, someone who's building a future with name written all over it, let me save some time. It's not worth it. Whatever think are missing, whatever grass looks greener, whatever excitement think deserve, none of it is worth becoming the person will have to be to get it, because that person doesn't just lose the relationship. That person loses himself, piece by piece, lie by lie, until there's nothing left but regret and the echo of laughter in the rain. Trust me, I know him well.